ABC 57 News, 19.
Tonight, ABC 57 continues to dig deeper into issues in the Elkhart City Police Department that could lead to an officer being fired.
It's the latest installment in our exclusive investigative series, Broken Heart, the Elkhart Police Saga. ABC 57 first launched it after learning about a man, Andrew Royer, whose murder conviction was overturned. A judge found a detective on the case, Elkhart Police Lieutenant Carl Conway, lied in his testimony under oath and likely coerced a confession.
The Elkhart Police Chief and Mayor said they wanted Conway fired, but tonight a new twist involving Elkhart's top legal expert. We've learned current Elkhart County Prosecutor Vicki Becker was inside that room when Conway was interrogating Royer and allegedly coercing a confession, and she still put Conway on the stand.
ABC 57 investigative reporter Richard Bodee talks exclusively with Becker about the prosecution that's led to an overturned conviction and the police chief asking for a detective's firing. Richard.
The Elkhart County Prosecutor's Office put Lieutenant Carl Conway on the stand during Andrew Royer's murder trial. Prosecutor Vicki Becker also sat down with me one-on-one and admitted she was present for at least part of the interrogation that led to Royer's innocence. So what gives? Did Becker know she was putting an officer on the stand that coerced a confession? I'll let you decide for yourself. After we learned in July that Andrew Royer was found innocent of his murder charge and released from prison, we began digging deeper into what caused his exoneration. We started with Elkhart County Prosecutor Vicki Becker, asking her point blank if Lieutenant Carl Conway coerced a confession. Do you think Detective Conway coerced a confession out of Andrew Royer?
It's probably not appropriate for me to do that. I can tell you, you know what? I do not believe he coerced a confession out of Andrew Royer. I saw quite a bit of it. It's definitely not what it's being painted to be, but I certainly don't want to make myself a witness in anything. I was in and out of the room. I listened to the audio recording multiple times, and no, I do not believe it was a coerced confession.
Vicki Becker saying, quote, I saw quite a bit of it, and quote, I was in and out of the room, is her saying that she was present for at least part of the interrogation of Andrew Royer back in 2003. But did she tell the courts she was an eyewitness? No.
Well, it's shocking that for 17 years, Vicki Becker prosecuted this case, signed the initiation of charges against Andy Royer back in September of 2003, and withheld from every single court that she was an eyewitness to Andy Royer's interrogation.
Fast forward 2 years. In August 2005, Elkhart County Prosecutor Vicki Becker put Lieutenant Carl Conway on the stand. Conway lied several times over the course of the trial about feeding Royer information and about his knowledge of Royer's mental capabilities. Elkhart's chief of police, Chris Seymour, called Conway's lies, quote, an assault upon the institution of justice, and recommended the Police Merit Board fire Conway. I asked Vicki Becker's office if she knew Conway was lying while on the stand. I also asked for a follow-up interview with her given these revelations. Her office declined. Elliot Slosser is a Notre Dame law professor and works with Notre Dame's Exoneration Justice Clinic. He believes what Vicki Becker did was wrong and believes it puts her track record as a prosecutor into serious question.
For a prosecutor to sit there and withhold the fact that she witnessed this live, Andy's counsel would have had an opportunity to cross-examine her if she would disclose it. And a prosecutor who withholds evidence, that matters. And if a prosecutor would do that in a murder case, better believe they'd be doing it in lesser cases when people aren't paying attention.
Now, Conway was supposed to begin his hearing before the Elkhart Police Merit Commission to decide whether or not he keeps his job tomorrow, but the hearing was pushed to next Wednesday. For now, reporting in studio, Richard Bodee, ABC 57 News.
There's an increasing chorus. Calls for the end of gun violence are reverberating across America. But is that the case here in South Bend? ABC 57 morning anchor Rich Bodee did some digging to find out what's really going on in South Bend's high crime neighborhoods.
Oxford Companies, we're at 21226 Huey Street. This is going to be for a shooting. You are clear to make the scene direct. We have one victim at this time, shot to the chest.
4:30, I just had 4 shots fired to the east of me. All of them Bertrand.
Receiving shot spotter notification, 1046 North Huey Street, showing 4 rounds.
I've got multiple shot spotters, 813, 842 Huey for multiple rounds.
It happens daily, especially once it starts getting warm. It's crazy over here. Sometimes it's hourly.
There is no such thing as I guess it's okay when a bullet leaves the barrel of a gun.
It says everything west of the river is pretty bad, is what it says.
We do need community heroes to step up and give information.
Welcome to South Bend, a version you may not have seen before. Last year, residents picked up their phones and called South Bend police 769 times to report shots fired.
As a disclaimer, some people will call and it could be fireworks, car backfiring, somebody dropping a pallet from a warehouse, things of that nature. And we would rather have that. We would rather have people call in, even if they're not sure.
We obtained this data through a public records request and created our very own heat map of all the shots fired calls in South Bend in 2021. While the list shows dates, times, and addresses, that doesn't mean police actually found evidence of shots fired on these blocks.
In 2021, there were 34 instances of shots fired calls right here on Huey Street, from the 400 block to the 1600 block. So we walked up and down to talk to residents about what they've heard and seen.
I've literally been sitting here on my steps, and a friend of mine almost got shot in the head because the bullet went into the house next door.
This woman, who was the only person out of the dozens we spoke to who agreed to talk to us on camera, asked to have her face blurred. She's lived in this Huey Street neighborhood for 20 years. She blames landlords for turning her once quiet block into a tiring nightmare and says she's moving out.
There was one woman down the street that got hit in the head with a damn stray bullet, or meant for her, I don't know, and then her damn family walking up and down the street with damn assault rifles.
But this woman, like so many others I spoke to, won't call police.
Why would I? I mean, it ain't gonna do any good. They're just gonna run through here real quick because police don't want to be over here either.
South Bend District 2 Councilman Henry Davis Jr., a lifelong resident of the city, says that's not the only reason his constituents and friends don't call the cops.
So you're going to have people that are in fear of their lives, and quite naturally, I'll be in fear of my life as well if somebody shot 40 shots inside of my home. So yeah, I understand that. I also understand those who are like used to this type of crime and this type of environment as well.
We gave South Bend Mayor James Mueller and South Bend Police Chief Scott Ruskowski our heat map. Neither were surprised by the locations the calls were mostly coming from.
It's not surprising given a lot of the individuals we know and the affiliations we know who are responsible for the vast majority of violence. That's where they live.
Evidence has been recovered primarily from your red and your yellow areas that you have on the map.
We also showed the map to Councilman Davis Jr. He says it proves there's been a lack of resources west of the St. Joe River.
Obviously, this is an illustration of why it deserves investment and support from the local government.
He says the northwest corner by the South Bend International Airport had the highest foreclosure rate during the 2008 recession. Now, it's become the most violent. We went back out several times to survey those neighborhoods, and upon closer look, found something alarming.
Now up and down this block, which is the 1300 block of Huey, everywhere you look, in pretty much all of the houses on both sides of the street, you can see bullet holes. In some houses, they've peppered the house more than one time. In one house, we saw as many as 7. And then one owner showed us this, bullet holes that go back 2 years in this tree. You can still see them here. This one was a .45 caliber slug he had to dig out.
Mayor Mueller says his office is committed to stopping the violence, but getting there is about more than just investing in the West Side.
You know, a lot of the things we're doing, both long-term and short-term, are designed to have opportunity and safe neighborhoods across the city. So that's the commitment. You know, how to get there, we do need the community to work with us on this. I mean, there is, as we've talked about, the community also knows who is responsible for a lot of the violence.
And Chief Ruskowski has a message for residents like the woman on Huey who don't want to talk to officers.
Talk to somebody else who will. We don't have to have a name.
But the woman tells us police presence makes all the difference, and the time of day is especially important.
If they're going to come out here and they're going to sit in this neighborhood and tell us about how it's a high crime area, then sit out here when stuff is going on. Don't bring your police cars and sit in a damn parking lot across the street from me and sit there from 7 a.m. to 3:30 in the afternoon, because the hood is asleep at 7 to 3:30. The hood don't wake up until 5, 6 o'clock in the evening, and they don't quit shooting and acting a damn fool until 5 o'clock in the damn morning. Come at those times. Don't sit there when ain't going on. You ain't solving nothing. You're sitting there wasting all of our time. That's all you're doing.
According to the data, of all the shots fired calls on Huey Street in 2021, just 2 came between 7 a.m. and 3:30 p.m. Chief Ruskowski says his department does use other data from shot spotters to track the most violent neighborhoods.
We put our officers in mission areas, meaning probable dates, times, days of the week that the officers will be in for X amount of time to make their presence at the bare minimum known in these areas, and try to, again, at the bare minimum, deter these things from happening.
ShotSpotter, a gunshot detection system, is a technology that triangulates a position about 10 to 12 feet from where a gun went off. It allows police to get alerts sent straight to their phones, most times before a shots fired call even comes into dispatch. Chief Ruskowski and Mayor Mueller say it's an invaluable tool, Ruskowski even providing a recent example.
Somebody was out in the street firing an AK-47, and the officer turned the corner, and he still had the gun in his hand. It just got done with his last round that he had fired.
Residents I spoke with also mentioned seeing and hearing assault rifles fire, something Ruskowski says he's not surprised by.
We do have rifles, AK-47s, SKSs, AR-15s, but not near the amount as we do with handguns.
The chief adds many guns are modified to make them fully automatic to fire even more rounds. In an ABC 57 public records request we found, from 2017 to 2021, the number of guns South Bend police have taken off the streets has increased every year. Chief Ruskowski says a special unit tasked with getting guns off the streets has stepped it up recently. But tracking where these guns come from is a painstaking process.
Off the street market, they'll use Craigslist, they'll use Facebook, they'll use all these other apps to go ahead and meet up and do this, or just quite frankly, meet up at a gas station and make the exchange there. Here's $100 and here's a gun.
In Indiana, buying a gun doesn't require a receipt or bill of sale. Chief Ruskowski says he's worried the new permitless carry legislation, which was signed by Governor Eric Holcomb in March and takes effect July 1st, could lead to more shots fired calls. Mayor Mueller agrees.
We heard some misguided arguments that, well, the criminals or the violent offenders they're not going to follow the permit. They're going to carry the weapon anyway. But that's the whole point of any law, is you have the law and then law enforcement is able to enforce it. So taking that tool away from law enforcement is going to complicate our ability to get violent offenders off the streets.
But Councilman Davis Jr. says it's not about the law at all. He says these areas with high shots fired calls on our map are not, nor have they ever been, the result of gun legislation.
It's better schools, it's grocery stores and food deserts. We have to start investing into our areas to solve this type of issue.
But no matter the cause of increased shots fired in South Bend, the effects can be traumatic. Right now, Chief Ruskowski says some kids in South Bend sleep in the bathtub to be somewhat safe from a stray bullet, just trying to survive.
Imagine if you had to live like that. Imagine there are people who are living like that. And since it's not us, I guess it doesn't affect us. That's what the mentality seems to be. But it is affecting people.
A mentality the woman on Huey Street says is alive and well.
Because if it's not their family, they're not going to call. It's the whole, we didn't hear it, we didn't see it, we don't know about it.
And at the end of the day, it's that deeply rooted belief so many hold on to in South Bend, despite the terror on their block.
In mid-April, the Biden administration announced new rules to crack down on ghost guns, which are unserialized and often untraceable homemade weapons. According to the ATF, in 2021, there were 20,000 ghost guns recovered across the country, a 10-fold increase in just 6 years. We asked South Bend Police how many of the 603 guns that it recovered from last year were ghost guns, but we were told that ghost guns are not tracked by South Bend Police as a separate entity.
There is no question that Notre Dame is a special place, but for one family, the connection is stronger because Notre Dame is the glue. ABC 57 morning anchor Rich Bodee joins us now live to explain.
Yeah, Allison, I'm not here and I didn't go to school here, but Fighting Irish football holds a special place in my heart. It's not just about the game, though. It's about tradition, medicine, and what happened nearly 60 years ago. For some, a school is more than just a place to learn. There he is, Richard Cronin. For some, it's about a legacy. Richard Marshall Cronin was a walk-on starter at the University of Notre Dame in 1945.
And he just saw that quarterback coming at him. And he said, I wasn't going to let him get by me.
It was a memory my grandfather told repeatedly about the day he went out for the football team. But Dick Cronin's greatest contribution to Notre Dame football wasn't on the field. In fact, his playing career had long been over when one spring day in 1964, he got a phone call.
Arrow was telling him that John Ewart, his star, had a shoulder injury and that they were going to operate on it at Notre Dame.
It was his junior year before in spring practice that he got injured.
He said, send him up to Chicago to my friend Dick Cronin.
Cronin, now an orthopedic surgeon who specialized in sports-related injuries, agreed to see him.
John Ewart here.
Hey, John, it's Rich Bodee with ABC 57. How you doing?
Huarte says during a scrimmage in the spring, defense end Jerry Long tackled him cleanly, but he landed on his right shoulder, driving it into the 50-yard line of Notre Dame Stadium.
The collarbone that comes into the outside of the shoulder was separated. Then two doctors said, oh, gee, we have to have an operation. Air Parsesian said, the hell they are.
So Huarte says he and backfield coach Tom Pagna drove to Chicago.
And there I met Dr. Cronin, and he had me hold a couple of sandbags, face the camera, picture straight ahead. He could see the separation. He says, just leave it alone.
Just leave it alone? Could it be that simple?
I worked on it very patiently, swimming, handball, and after about 6 weeks, it got back to normal, and did not bother me during that season of '64.
Huarte says, looking back, surgery would have finished him.
College football's longest continuous.
But it didn't. Far from it. John Huarte went on to have a season for the record books, throwing for more than 2,000 yards with 114 completions on his way to a Heisman Trophy. At that point, no Irish quarterback had completed more than 100 passes in a season. His passing efficiency rating at Notre Dame still ranks among the best in the Irish record books.
Extremely fortunate that I made a call, Dr. Cronin, and basically simply saved my career is what he did.
But while this is the story that gets all the attention, it was just another day for Dr. Cronin.
He would treat everybody everywhere and never charge anybody until they came to the office.
On Saturdays, my grandmother describes an open house. High school football players, friends, and seemingly strangers being checked out in the living room.
It wasn't bad. He never got rich practicing medicine.
Dick Cronin died in 2016 at the age of 89. But what he left behind was the hope of a life filled with purpose. And some of us picked up right where he left off.
It was always a dream of mine to attend the university.
As a lot of brilliant men, he had Alzheimer's at the end, or dementia anyway, and he hadn't talked for months and months. And Michael Cahill came over and he said, Grandpa, I'm going to Notre Dame. He said, go Irish.
For patients with dementia, near the end, it's said that what remains is what they truly loved the most. But what the disease took away motivated Michael Cahill.
You know, Grandpa, the way he dealt with patients and the way that he told his family about his love for medicine definitely inspired me as well.
Cahill graduated from Notre Dame and now attends medical school at Thomas Jefferson University in Philadelphia. But he dreams of returning to South Bend.
Being the team orthopedic surgeon would be a dream of mine.
It's a calling, the bridging of two generations, walking in his grandfather's footsteps. And he's not the only one either. For some, a school is more than just a place to learn. For the extended Cronin family, it's about tradition.
It was in our blood.
That was something that we shared, and I feel that he was proud of me for being part of that as well.
And in our family, it was God, country, and Notre Dame.
A legacy, but also a mindset that'll forever connect one Chicago family to South Bend. And my 95-year-old grandmother couldn't make it out here today, but my cousin Michael Cahill did, all the way from Philadelphia. Michael, what do you think about the game today?
You know, I'm really excited to be back on campus. I think the Irish get a win today.
All right. What's a cold one out here for Boston College and Notre Dame, that's for sure.
Just an incredible story, Rich. I love that. I love the connection that you share, and that's what Notre Dame is all about, right? The Notre Dame family, the brotherhood, and just such a great story. I got emotional and teary-eyed just having you tell me about it. So thank you for.
You would think that one of the safest places would be in jail.
If I knew that she was going to die in jail, I would have got her out.
How much was it to bail her out?
It was $15.50.
Tiffany Helbling was no stranger to Marshall County Jail.
She was no angel, trust me. But she wanted to do right.
Neither her parents, Timothy and Jennifer Lauder, nor anyone else knew that when she was brought in on May 18th on DUI and drug charges, the daughter, wife, and mother of 3 wouldn't walk out of jail alive.
I was shocked. I couldn't think straight. My daughter's in jail. Why is she dead? You know, I don't have an answer.
For nearly 3 months, Indiana State Police have been investigating.
I thought that was the safest place for her at the time.
Benjamin Helbling, Tiffany's husband, says in addition to an opiate addiction, Tiffany was bipolar with severe anxiety and a history of suicide attempts.
The coroner contacted me saying that she admitted to suicidal tendencies and they had her in a padded cell.
He says that information came from Marshall County Coroner John Grolick. Grolick says Tiffany made comments about hurting herself during the intake process. On May 24th, the day after Tiffany died, the Indiana State Police sent out a news release confirming she was alone in her cell, but it doesn't say when she was put there. Grolick says she was there her entire stay.
I talked to her a couple of times while she was incarcerated.
Benjamin says his wife didn't tell him she was on suicide watch, and he only found out from the coroner when Grolick came to his house to break the news of Tiffany's death. So what happened to Tiffany Helbling in that cell?
I was told she was served breakfast at 7. She refused breakfast, just wanted an extra cup of water. They gave it to her.
The coroner confirmed that timeline. Helbling says Grolick told him that not long after Tiffany passed on breakfast on the morning of Sunday, May 23rd, she was found unresponsive in her cell. At 9:44 a.m., the coroner says she was rushed to St. Joseph Regional Medical Center in Plymouth, and at 10:12 a.m., she was pronounced dead.
He said he didn't see anything unusual with her heart, her lungs, nothing physically.
The coroner also told ABC 57 Helbling registered a normal body temperature of 98.9 degrees while she was in custody. When ABC 57 asked the Indiana State Police for Tiffany's cause of death, we were told Tiffany died of acute bilateral pneumonia or fluid in the lungs. It's an illness that would normally take a lot more time to die from, but the pathologist who did Tiffany's autopsy found something inside her vagina that may have sped up the process.
He said he did find a baggie inside of her that looked like it had ruptured, but he wouldn't know if that was a cause until he got the toxicology report.
The coroner says the toxicology report only showed Tiffany had marijuana in her system and didn't pick up what that substance in the baggie was. Grolich says it had broken down and needed to be sent to an ISP lab for further testing. But the news of a substance found in their loved one's body is still upsetting Helbling's family, prompting an investigation and maybe even a lawsuit.
Somebody should be watching.
Under suicide watch, they're supposed to be checking on you every 15 minutes. You're supposed to be under 24-hour surveillance.
Benjamin says whether Tiffany brought in what was found on her or got it in jail, the jail failed to adequately protect her.
I don't think they did their part to make sure she was secured.
We reached out to Marshall County Sheriff Matt Hassel and County Attorney Jim Clevenger for comment and answers. We asked if cavity searches are done prior to locking someone up, if the jail has a body scanner inmates go through to detect drugs, or if either of these methods were used on Tiffany. We also asked if Tiffany could have gotten those drugs in jail, how long Tiffany was on suicide watch, and if she was regularly checked on. Hassel never returned our request for comment, but we spoke to Clevenger over the phone.
Clevenger told us he, quote, thought there was a body scanner and, quote, typically cavity searches are done. Clevenger also said there was a camera inside Tiffany's cell. We asked for that video around the time she was found unresponsive, but were denied due to the ongoing investigation. And as questions remain unanswered, a family and children,
they're kind of lost.
Grieves.
It makes no sense.